About that later in the show. We start tonight, though, with Senator Kevin Cramer joining us live from Washington, D.C. Lots to discuss. Senator Cramer, thank you so much for joining us live tonight. You were in a very important meeting earlier today with President Trump, with your Senate GOP colleagues. Take us inside the room and tell our audience what we need to know from that meeting, please.
Well, the main purpose of the meeting, it was originally set up to be Secretary Mnuchin, of course, Secretary of the Treasury, to talk about a potential, they were calling it a stimulus package. To me, it looks a little more like what I called a safety net package. But as it turned out, and you know, they gave us a little sneak preview yesterday. I think a lot of us commented on it with the national media and felt they better bring the big guns in. So Secretary Mnuchin was joined by President Trump, Vice President Pence. Of course, the coronavirus and update was on everybody's mind. But the biggest reason for the president showing up today was to talk to us, to pitch us a little bit, and to listen to us with regard to some sort of an economic package to try to stem, you know, the bleeding, if you will, with what's going on economically. Interestingly, Chris, of course, the economy is responding or reacting to the coronavirus in a more dramatic way even than the health system in this country and in the world. So it was a very good, robust discussion.
So Vice President Pence, Mr. Kudlow and whatnot had a meeting earlier to talk about you know, what's going on with this package, but nobody's really seen it. So if you can sort of lay out what's in this package for the American people. And then I know last night you said, hey, and I'm quoting you here, what I don't want to do is just borrow a bunch of money and throw it out in the street to stimulate spending. So is that in this package? And if not, what else is in it?
Well, first of all, it's not a package per se as much as it is a bunch of ideas that they were trying to get, you know, take our temperature on, I think, get some feedback, rightfully. I will tell you, I don't think it's any big secret, the president's favorite part of it is a very focused payroll tax cut or payroll tax holiday between now and the end of the year. Perhaps there's some sort of a incremental cut that could be made, you know, more permanent or longer, but their focus, Chris, is very specific. It's on working Americans and small businesses, small, medium businesses, and small, medium employers and their employees. That's where they came up with the payroll tax cut as a you know, stimulating the economy and providing a bit of a bridge, if you will, because they know that there are going to be a lot of businesses that are probably going to have some disruptions in whether it's supply chain or workforce or both, and there are going to be some workers that are going to end up having to miss work or should miss work and won't miss work because they have symptoms. They just want to make sure that there's some ideas out there to give a sense of confidence, and then, of course, to come up with a package that people agree on. Now, they talked about other things besides the payroll tax cut, even things like ensuring that, you know, that certain expenses would be covered, and that sick days and sick leave and stuff would be covered, family leave would be covered by the federal government for small and medium-sized businesses if, in fact, they couldn't, you know, if they couldn't afford it themselves. And all of that very targeted at that part of the economy that, you know, that would have to weather this if it gets much worse. They also talked, of course, some more about targeted industries like, you know, the hospitality industry, especially as it relates to airlines, hospitality, obviously, cruise ships, the areas that, you know, that are obviously suffering, travel industry especially, that's suffering from, you know, from the uncertainty and the coronavirus sort of paranoia, if you will.
And we'll get to that in a moment, Senator. I think right now a lot of people are looking at our debts and deficit and going, hey, they just continue to expand. So if you did institute a payroll tax, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, there's no question it would be borrowed money. Now, there's a sense, and Mr. Kudlow makes this case as much as anybody, there's a sense with the low interest rates that the president actually talked about, and I think you've sort of bought into this a little bit, or championed it, at least the discussion, and that is that, you know, the opportunity that low rates present to refinance some of our own country's debt. And so, you know, there was a lot of talk about the cost of money, the lowering the cost of money, how some of that could, you know, be factored into refilling the trust fund, for example. I will tell you, though, Chris, I'm a little concerned about the point that you're making right now. What this economy wants isn't more stimulus. What this economy wants is for the coronavirus to be fixed. And some of it is hype. I don't think there's any question about that, or at least it's premature hype. There's an abundance of caution that has led to an abundance of caution with spending. But at the same time, the country, I think the economy, and especially the markets, really just want that fixed, because we're on such a solid foundation economically as a country right now,
So
that if you're an oil producer, you want a price, right? You don't want a bailout, you want a price.